Hello. Very few people have ever actually seen the inside of my Bulgarian village home. Let's check it out this way. Go through the mosquito net here, and I'll take you directly to my room. This is the largest room in the house, and it is typically Bulgarian with respects to the windows, which are original, although I painted that one. This is original. This table right here, that's the way they do it here. Kind of interesting. It's a little wobbly, but it's strong enough. I found that near a dumpster. And I made my own curtains. Groovy, of course. Don't watch television anymore, so that could go. In fact, if I wind up living here indefinitely, which I haven't decided yet, I will build a shelf here and over here, because this is really crowded, very crowded. Get me out of here. And I built, I reinforced this with some steel along here. And this I added, painted the walls violet because originally there's only one family that lived here. And the last person that lived here was an 80-year-old man with really ugly wallpaper. And I tore down most of it on this side because it was hanging down. And then I just added random things to make it look better, including my neighbor gave me an American flag. Thought that was neat. My best friend built this for me, actually. It's made specifically for me. And I bought a mattress for myself and original table with the original kind of stuff that I find here and there. This chair was already here when I bought the place, as was this footstool. And this kovcheg, which means coffin, which are very typical in Bulgaria to have these handmade, see that wooden peg right there? Handmade kovchegs. This is where everything that you can imagine that could be stored is stored. This is original. I think it's hideous, but it does keep things really warm. That's where the wood goes. And this casing, I guess, acts like a radiator. This is where I do my yoga, right here. I painted the floor because it used to be just hideous black. And I could live here the rest of my life. I think I would be relatively happy here. But I don't know that this is where I want to wind up. So I'm still looking around for other houses. And yeah, haven't decided yet. But I've done some home improvement. I painted the window here, the floor, the doors, this, the wall. And I have a strange L-shaped corridor, which actually doubles as a kitchen, and a little storage area over here, which is really rustic, very rustic, just basic stuff, storage for food, and a table, which was already here when I bought the place. And, I just need this basic hot plate and a blender here. This was added later because originally in here there was just this weird machine, which all it did was, and it got stolen or the old man who lived here took it. All it did was it warmed the water up as it was going through the machine, and it would come out here lukewarm, not really hot. So my neighbor convinced me to get that used water heater, and it's very rustic, but it has everything I need: a sink, toilet, shower, and I'm really lucky to have this. Some village bathrooms don't even have that. So, in fact, half of the village bathrooms don't have running water, or there's no running water in the whole house. So, I consider myself to be lucky that way, that I have water. And there was a homemade door here which worked along these rails here, and it didn't really work that well. It kind of stuck here and it was dragging a lot. So I just put this piece of cloth, close it like that, and it keeps the heat in. It's nice. Attic here. Over here is the guest room. I actually used to live here. Oh, well, let me show you the rest of the corridor. As I painted stuff, I tried to beautify it a little bit, just by adding strange things to the walls, just to make it look better. And did some home repair over here. Let me show you this. This is something that's interesting for me. In Bulgaria, to access the electrical, they have these cardboard circular things where if they need to get inside the wall, they just remove that And that's how they do it, because the walls are really thick. That wall is about 1 foot thick, solid brick. You know, if it holds this, see how that's just kind of like hanging there on that piece of steel, but that's heavy. So the walls are really, really quite strong in the village. And I have a cement floor, which is not always the case. A lot of corridors have just a dirt floor or clay. I lived here 2014 for about 3 months because the old man, which we bought the house from, was still living in that big room over there. He came to visit every so often, and that was part of the deal. He would be able to visit until he died, which did happen a few months later. And this is your typical Bulgarian door, typical Bulgarian bed, which is original to this place. You'll find a lot of these things in old village homes, and they're very seldom removed or stolen because there's just so many of them. And the old village houses did not have closets. If they did, it was rare. Mostly they had these chipboard type cabinets. And you'll find these in a lot of abandoned homes because they're so heavy, nobody takes them, and they're everywhere. As well as these old couches. Again, particle board, chipboard type couches, which are practical. The old style propane stove, which I use in case the electricity goes out. I have a heater and a way to cook. So there's a lot of power outages that does happen. So you have that as a backup. Yeah. The third room is actually a storage room. Although I removed, this was the only room upstairs that actually had dirt. It was a dirt floor or clay. So I bought some cheap linoleum to cover that up. And my neighbor gave me this, another one of these old style chipboard beds, which also you can store stuff inside. So I put camping equipment, musical instruments, art, luggage. So this is basically a storage room, but it could be a room because it does have everything you need, including an outlet, a place for the stovepipe, and a stove. So it has everything you need. And this, isn't that neat? Little thing, I've never seen this before in any other village room, this little window. So you can do that. Or you can do this. Yes! Most fascinating. And this thing is weird because it's built into the wall itself. The wall curves around. I don't even know if I need this because the actual wall is right here. So there is no backside to this cabinet. It's actually built into the wall itself. Unfortunately, it's also where the mice have managed to come in. And one year I had to get rid of about 10 barn rats, which are about that big, as opposed to the mice, which are about that tiny. So I use this trap here and I relocate them. I don't kill them, I relocate them. So that's basically it. If I decide to live here forever, I will begin to store things in here. I'll fix the problems with the mouse. But I haven't decided whether or not to really live here. You know, all village homes need a little love. But basically, they're very strong. And that's it. That's it. For now, I'm really happy to have a house. It's weird. I don't really necessarily feel like this is my house because there was only one family that lived here. And the old man that lived here last, he helped to build the place when he was like 12 years old back about 75 years ago. And then we bought, my friend and I bought this house and the one next door for about 3,500 USD, which is nothing. You know, I could never afford that in the United States. But here you can have a house with 6 floors, even electricity and running water, which is not bad, for almost nothing. And let me just take you down here real quick. I've shown you guys this kind of stuff before, but I found a bunch of broken tiles, so I built this stuff, built up my patio and did a bunch of stuff over here and made this roof and kind of finessed that. This is not original. This was just added later, and this is where the old man's kitchen was, which I painted and improved on as much as I could with my skill set, which is limited. But I did build this window, which I thought looks pretty good for my skill set. Built that window. It was originally just this shelf. That was it. But I decided to have a little bit more light. So I built a window over here as well. See how thick the walls are? It's really quite thick. It doesn't heat really well, even though that's a nice radiator which holds the heat in. And this is your old-fashioned type stove, which I think is much better looking than the one upstairs. It doesn't really heat the place that well. I think it's because everything is cement or rock. But it does have running water. If I could fix that, it would be very easy. And it has an electrical outlet, light, doors, windows, bed, which I made. I made that bed with my skill set limited. And I tried to fix it up as best I could. And predominantly, I'm kind of happy here. I'm not perfectly happy, but it's more than enough for a guy like me. Look at that support system here. These things don't last that long for some reason, and look how complicated that is. I mean, how am I going to fix that if he has problems up there? Super thick wall, I don't know. More of this stuff, right? The little circular thing, if you need to access the electricity, that's how you do it. So anyway, this is kind of like my little retro area here. Old style Bulgarian hat, coat rack, things like that. Year's supply of walnuts, always. And so it's very stylistic, it's very groovy. I dig it. I'd like to live closer to the Black Sea. This is a nice midway point to have in between Sofia and the Black Sea, but I'd like to be a little further east because I'm about 2.5 hours from Sofia, but about 7.5 hours to the Black Sea. I'd like to move a couple of hours further east to be right in the middle, but prices are going up, so it's not that easy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.